Hi there. So this is a really quick tutorial on how to use the Pivot lab tools and what the setup is in Pivot for this lab on enzymes that you'll be collecting data for. So in your group, you're going to decide whether you want to test temperature or pH, right? It can't be both because a well-designed experiment only has one variable that's being tested. So your group will change one of these things and keep the other one the same. All right? So there's also some tools up in the top right hand corner of the Pivot lab that you'll use, and I'll show you how to use those in 1 minute here. Just in terms of the setup of the lab, this is the temperature output. It's a digital output, so you'll know what the temperature of the reaction is. This test tube has catalase in it. Catalase usually comes from, in a lab setting, you can grind up potatoes or put them in a blender, and you get a lot of catalase out of that. So that's in this test tube, and hydrogen peroxide. And when the hydrogen peroxide mixes with the catalase, we know that we get two products of water and oxygen gas. The oxygen gas is going to go up through this test tube into the apparatus here at the top, and then it's going to end up inside of this upside down test tube. And that's where you'll measure the amount of oxygen gas that gets produced. Now, how do you actually measure that? You're going to use these tools up in the top right hand corner, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's say that my group is testing temperature. So I'm going to start and load up 21 to 23 degrees Celsius, and I'll hit play. Okay, so they're going to do it for me on Pivot. They're going to add in the hydrogen peroxide, cap it back off, and now what's building up is oxygen gas, and the oxygen gas is coming out of the tube and it's going into this test tube over here. If you can see, right, the gas is filling up. It's kind of hard to see in this particular one, but it's stopped right around here. So the way I measure the amount of oxygen is I click on the tool in the right-hand corner here that is essentially a ruler, but you're going to use it to measure how much gas was produced. So it looks to me like the line, it's about here-ish. It's about 4.5 milliliters of oxygen gas. So that's what I would put into my data table down in the bottom. Okay, so that's one tool that you can use. Now, if your group is doing pH and not temperature, you would manipulate one of the pHs. We'll change this to, I don't know, D, pH D, and load it in. Now, you should remember from our introduction to enzyme activity last week that the pH it's on a scale. And it goes from 0 to 14. So in order to determine what the pH of this reaction is, it's a number, right? It's not a letter. So you have to use this tool in the top right-hand corner that gives you a pH scale with color indicators. So you would match it up as best you can. So I would say that the pH of this reaction is about 9. And I would record that if I was doing different pHs on my data table that's lower in the simulation. Let's try another pH just to see how that looks. Okay, this one's more pinkish, right? So somewhere in between, maybe like 3.5, okay? So I would use that to determine my different pHs. And that's pretty much it. Pretty simple and straightforward, but I wanted to quickly show you how to use this and what you would be measuring. All right?